The President of the Republic of Kenya is getting back in the country after a long week tour in the United States of America. One of the most critical discussions in this country now is what he is bringing home. Kenyans' opinions are divided on many other factors, amongst which include the fact that 1,000 officers are leaving this country heading to Haiti to protect the Caribbean nation. But again, he's also coming back with an envelope carrying MOUs and deals, and Kenyans are asking to what expense. And what they have come to realize is that there is a question of patriotism or the national good. And so what I've decided to do is to go directly to Burkina Faso. And let us look at one gentleman, Captain Ibrahim Traore. This is one of the most loved men in Africa. And I think even in the comment section, I searched and one of us was saying, Kevin, can't we look at Captain Ibrahim Traore? The Burkina Faso president was appointed as a president after a successful coup that removed Paul Henry Damiba on power in the West African nation after a second coup that happened in the less than 9 months. And so critically, I've been trying to follow some of the latest actions of Ibrahim Traore, and I want us to compare. And in this podcast, I will show you what really Kenya needs to do for you to get patriotism. It is not just forced on people. Before I get more into those details, I want to remind you guys, we are supporting some more than 10 families in Mukuru, Kwaruben. These families, their houses were demolished by government, and even despite of a promise for them to be given 10,000 stipend for them to relocate to other areas, that was never effected. So recently when I visited the place to send some clothes that I was given, I successfully talked to them and they presented to me an ideal situation. That even as you're giving us clothes, we are spending cold nights because with our children, we are staying in the cold with our children and forced to lit bonfires in the spaces that were left because we don't have anywhere to go. So in this podcast, we said, beyond everything, humanity comes first. And that is why we are coming in the space to help these women. We are raising 100,000 in this weekend. On Monday, I should go and be able to give them an alternative settlement. So kindly contribute, kindly support this initiative. Now let's go back to our discussion. What you are seeing on your screen are 400 tractors. Ibrahim Traore, the Burkina Faso president, bought 400 tractors and 339 tillers. According to him, he's saying that there is free land in Burkina Faso and these tractors should help people in the rural setup so that they can be able to till their land and be an agricultural nation. And in his own understanding, he's saying that the best way for agriculture, for Africa to maximize on the potential of its agriculture is mechanization of farming. And that is why he's bought these tractors and tillers. Now in this country, and I just want us to compare home, that he's also saying that the car he's using is a car that is a model 2001 and costs only 12,000 US dollars in the market now, a second hand of that car. Now, that is the difference from what is happening with our leaders here in Kenya. You realize that after an election, the first budget that someone will ask for is to refurbish a state house, is to buy new furnitures, and how to consolidate a new fleet of cars and chase cars. And then that tells you that sometimes we lack the priority on what a country really needs. Remember, the country Burkina Faso is a nation that is building from series of coup d'etats. Because even by the time they were removing their president, they were complaining about so many things, including rising insecurity and runaway corruption. Those who were in power by then were really looting the country to the core. But the nation is rising, and it seems they are converging around the military power, the military man, Captain Ibrahim Traore. And I'm not saying that coups is the best way for Africa, What I'm simply saying here is the leaders must have the need and the urge to work for the people. Recently, he was making a speech and meeting another auxiliary force known as VDP. VDP is Voluntary Defense of Homeland, but they don't have H because they're French nation, so I think that's where there is P. And he made a very hearty speech, a very emotional speech to the soldiers, telling them on the need to work and to hold together for the better of the nation. He was pointing out very critical issues that I would urge you to take some time and listen to this speech.
Most of you who are young like me, we were born in this system. But this is not what can allow Burkina to live. Because in this situation, there are only two cases. Either we accept to fight, or we remain slaves forever, I tell you once. And there are some who are slaves in the head. They can only serve their master. And these people, each time they try to manipulate you, you must advise each other. Because each situation can be exploited by these enemies of the nation to try to discourage you, to demotivate you. So you must advise each other and do not pay attention to certain words, even on certain media. Everyone is not obliged to be a patriot. You are the first patriots. You have decided to defend the country. There is nothing better than that. Those who want to support you, let them support you. Those who want to discourage you through writing, you must close your ears and move forward. We must remember something. Recently, there was a so-called NGO. It is not even a NGO because a NGO is a non-governmental organization. But they are not non-governmental because they are financed by a federal budget, by a state. This so-called NGO produces reports to say that the FDS and the VDP are carrying out executions. They came in and left here. It is to stain your morale. It is to scare you, to prevent you from being able to fight. No. Besides, we will take this NGO into account because people must understand something. What is happening to us here? It is true that they have manipulated a part of our population in the Sahel. But they did not have this armament. What led to this important armament? It is Libya. Who destroyed Libya? It is this NGO, the same NGO that made these false reports and gave to whoever wanted to create a rebellion for people to intervene and make Gaddafi fall. And the powder is spilled in the Sahel. These millions of lives that were taken in the Sahel, we must take into account this NGO, because it is responsible for these false reports that it made to consolidate this thesis of attacking Libya. They have no moral lessons to give us. Look at the world. Let them defend human rights everywhere in the world before coming here. We have the chance to have similar situations in this world. You are engaged voluntarily. There are countries where we take force, we kill. You leave or you die. Others, even if they want to flee, end up dying. They do not speak of human rights because these people see us as subhumans. They see us as slaves. It's like that in their heads. They have never changed their logic. But it is up to us to show them that we are not slaves and we will never accept this state of affairs. So there is no need to let yourself be overwhelmed by the story they tell, whoever wants to hear it. You have to stay focused on your fight. Stay focused. We know what we are doing. And even now, the commander of BVDP told me that there is a training session on human rights for the benefit of group leaders and their subordinates, which is ongoing. If we make an effort, we know that it is for us. We do not do anything to please anyone. We do it for our country, and you are committed to that. Defend your country. Do not listen to these individuals. They should not affect your morale. In the history of the world, there have been wars, and during the Second World War, people organized themselves to defend themselves, a little bit everywhere. But there was a country that could not defend itself, that had to come and take our ancestors to go and defend them. And today, this same country wants to teach us the hospital that laughs at charity.
No,
you are the descendants of these same ancestors who went to defend the others, who freed the world from Nazism. Today you fight for your lands. These same individuals dare to create terms to dirty you. We oppose this. We will never agree. Continue to defend your lands. It is your wealth that interests these people. It is our gold, our minerals that interest them. If not, why come and look for entire villages to take our lands? So we will fight and we will recover our lands. Our wealth belongs to us. It is to us that it will benefit and to our children. So I encourage you to keep in mind that this war is to get us out of slavery. It is for our independence. And you must keep your morale high. Stay up. We will never give in to the manipulators, to these individuals who no longer know this notion of homeland, or to these people who come from the outside to try to tame us through their terms that they invented and their organisms that they invented to serve us. Fight, move forward, do everything you can. Dive, as I said, into your cultural resources, into what you have been forging since the village. Dive into it and wage this war. Stay focused and stay up. You are those people who dared to take up arms to support the different forces of defense and security, to fight to recover our lands. This does not apply to everyone. Everyone at his level can do what he can. Others are in business and contribute. Others try to communicate to encourage you. Others try to do what they can. But you have decided to take up arms and face them. We like to say that in times of war, there are two types of citizens. Those who wear uniforms called FDS, who must go towards death. It is their duty. And the civilians who must flee death because they are not trained for it. But in the history of peoples, there is always a moment when you find yourself confronted with your existence. Either you fight or you disappear. Today, Burkina faces its destiny. It is a question of existence. And at this crucial moment, among those civilians who must give water to death, you have decided to take up arms and face and support your brothers in arms. We cannot stop paying tribute to you. We cannot stop magnifying you. We cannot stop glorifying you. You are from Burkina Faso, and that is all we have asked. You have faced the enemy without knowing the enemy, without having the same capabilities as the security forces. But you have faced it. Many of you have paid for their lives, but you continue to resist. What can we do to improve your working conditions? That is combat. First of all, the FDS has existed for several years, but it was not equipped, especially the notion of individual weapons. I think that this problem is more or less solved. All those who are VDP in the villages today have weapons. Anyway, there are still many who want to join, I am sure. All the villagers might want to be VDP, but we will go step by step. Because we have also asked the civilians to contribute, as I told you earlier.
That is Ibrahim Traore. That is Captain Ibrahim Traore, the President of Republic of Burkina Faso. There is everything for Africa to love Traore. And honestly, if there is a president that I've been following silently in Africa, is him. Because as a country, you need to take bold steps, and first, your people must come first. In that speech, he's speaking to the auxiliary force and is telling them about the need to step forward and be devoted to the goal of defending their nation. And so this is why I'm saying there are really some values that we need to put together, we need to put first as a team or as a country to ensure that we create patriotism. There's a result that was saying that he's one of the most loved presidents in the West African side. And even despite of the coup d'etats getting condemnation from different parts of the world, but we've realized that the military transition or the government transitions through the military men that sometimes come into power have tried to bring sanity, save for some few countries. And so there is that number one thing I'm looking at what the governments need to do first to ensure that your people are patriotic. The first thing you must do is you must protect your people first. You must protect your people first, because as we speak now, a citizen journalist was asking the president in the United States of America that why are you sending 1,000 troops to Haiti while back home there are people that are still dying due to banditry. There are people that are being killed in this country every day due to insecurity reasons. And even if to make it worse, the country recently lost its CDF in a bandit-prone area. The schools that are still closed and no one can still go to those places because they've been declared bandit-prone areas. Houses are deserted. Schools cannot even be opened. There are no hospitals in those areas. But then here is a situation where your president is taking the country, the police to another country first. It's just a clear show of not being sensitive to your people. This is a move that has received condemnation across the world, both from Kenyans living here, Kenyans living in the US, and even Haitians living in the US. Recently, just during the visit, they even protested around the Kenyan embassy in US. So this is something that has been going on and is one of the values that I think as a country we must make sure. There is a sense that the country's protection, security is not put first. Number two, you must empathize with the citizenry. In this country, if there is one of the problems is lack of empathy. The political class must empathize with the citizenry. Let me tell you about something about Burkina Faso. The Captain Traore decided to retain his salary as a president. The salary he's being paid as a president is the salary he used to be paid as a captain. He maintained his salary and resisted the temptation to increase his salary. And the other thing he also did is he slashed the salaries of the cabinet members, people, high-ranking people in government, by 30%. Then increased the salaries of the civil servants by 50%. Now in Kenya, the reverse is what is going on. Those who are already earning more, the president and the cabinet members, they are actually increasing their salaries. But the civil servants, the policemen, the doctors, the teachers that are running day-to-day activities and are holding very critical positions that really touch into the welfare of the people are now spending time in the road asking for mega salary increase. Do you know, as we speak, JSS teachers have normalized holding protest seeking for salaries for them to be employed on permanent and pensionable terms and also be given at least a stipend. But here, you will understand that when you ask, you will be told clearly that we have to live within our means. The man who says we have to live within our means just recently splashed in the tune of that more than 200 million to fly to the United States of America, while there was an alternative of using less. And even to add more salt in it, there are so many joyriders that were part of that itinerary, part of that itinerary, that accompanied the president, only to come up with no any other position, or rather no any other deal that they've brought in those positions. So here you will be told we are not elected to be re-elected, and you will be told we have to live within our means. But the people that say we have to live within our means are spending millions. There is a lot of money being lost, even in corruption. But you can see the empathy that is showing. In Kenya here, houses will be demolished. Now we are doing a fundraiser to help people whose houses were demolished. They promised a stipend of 10,000, and that was not effected. Your house will be demolished. You'll be left to spend time in the cold, and no one really cares. We have a problem. The second thing I'm also seeing here is the resources of the nation should always work for you. You know, I've gotten one of the arguments why the Sahel nations are actually chasing France from those countries. And they've been saying that, for example, Niger, they've been saying their countries is endowed with gold and wealth, minerals. But those minerals are being mined by multinational companies from other foreign nations. They come and build, they carry those golds and the minerals to their foreign countries, and some of those countries, despite the fact, I think that was Niger, despite the fact that Niger is one of the countries that is endowed with minerals, but it ranks amongst the poorest in the world and in Africa. So I want to compare back in the country. When our leaders go to Europe, they'll come and tell you that we've been told that our coffee is the best in the world. But do you know that the coffee that we produce here is exported? They go there, they do value addition, then when it is brought back at very high prices. So even locally here, despite the fact that there is a consumption, there is a population that can consume. There are those who can also afford to buy, but you can't get first-class coffee in Kenya. Why? Because it's not working for us. And that is why recently when the president attended the African CEO Forum in Kigali, Rwanda, Kagame said and told President Ruto that clearly what the Europe must do is not just to overutilize our resources. Let the countries in Africa be part of that value addition. Let them be part of that supply chain. If there is value addition they're doing on coffee, why don't they establish that company here? So that we employ our people here and the resources work for the people. So you can see that what's been happening, like in Burkina Faso, they are saying, let the resources, let the minerals, let them work for the people. Utilization of the resources. The other third thing that we are also seeing here is overdependence on aids come with a lot of caveats. And these caveats really affect the population. As we speak now, we had IMF loans. And this IMF loan, we are supposed to receive a 131 billion facility from IMF. The reports going around is that that disbursement has been delayed because IMF wants the nation to pass the budget as it is. And that budget has introduced 2.5 motor vehicle circulation levy, which the country has said it is too much. The same finance bill is introducing taxes on phones and batteries for phones, called as eco levy. The same finance bill is introducing taxes on basic commodities such like bread. But that has to be put to a context that as Africa continues to depend on foreign aid, they come with a lot of restrictions and demands, and that really doesn't work well for the people. And look at the recent US tour. The president announced in US that those who will be importing electric vehicles will have tax waivers. Who are really manufacturing those vehicles? The foreign powers. But then if you look at Burkina Faso, there is an agenda being pushed on Burkinabe people, something working for them. And I want to believe that Africa should look at Traore, the president of the Republic of Kenya. Kenya is a country. We should look at what's happening in Burkina Faso. There is something that cannot work out there that you can take and really understand that leadership is not about how much you are going to put in your pocket. In this country, for everything to happen, the first question that the duty bearer will ask, what is my cut in it? And without my cut, even that project, however good it's supposed to benefit the people, it cannot even be effected. We have much to do. but at least some learning lessons from Burkina Faso. Thank you. Yeah, so, and guys, I'm talking to you guys, how the club matters. Yes, so that is what we're going to do. You see, these women here, they are 50. Now, wengine, not they're 50, they are 10, we picked 10. So, the only problem here is them moving out, kwa sababu hizo nyumba zimebomolewa. Then, tunakubaliana, sitakupatia kwa mkono, naenda tunalipa. Sababu unaweza pata mama sema mimi naenda kuongeza stock bado ubaki hapo. Mtu akuja aone huyu mtu mwenye kaza ndio pesa yeye akisi hajahama. Si ndio? Yeah, so tutakubaliana. That is what we do. So guys, that is what we are going to do. This is very urgent. I've just felt this. Tunaenda kuona. Give me hata mtu moja 250,000. Tupatie hawa Monday. We come, we move them out, kila mtu aende kazi. Ndio? Ah, asante. Na nataka nione ile kitu kinawezekana sababu for around 9 or 10.
Just say 10.
10. Mimi kwa nataka niende nataka twende tuone hapo. Then if Mungu akikubali, you give me leo ni? You give me 2 days.